All right, here we go. Gonna go live. Hey, here's Brett Tolson, running for Ward 3. Hey, we're about to go live. Thanks, man. Ashley's gonna be doing it, so good luck.
Both of my girls. This is Lisa. Lisa, this is Jennifer.
I know, we done been back there talking.
Hey, we are live. We're live streaming at the moment. So
You might have to elbow me every once in a while then.
give me some nuts. Run up there and give them some nuts. Give me Fletch some nuts. Don't give him one.
Draper is my child.
Fletch some nuts.
Let it go. Good job.
I love this baby.
I didn't know it was me sitting here.
I didn't know.
He waved at me like I know.
They take it over these guys and they work it. That's how it's been working. That's baby, I swear. She called me last night. I was like, go get it. I was like, don't you threaten me with that because I'll be right over there.
I'll come get it.
Okay, if everybody will take their seats so we can go ahead and get started with the mayoral portion of our forum tonight. Okay, if everybody's seated, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to do the same format. Once it dies down, we will let each candidate introduce themselves and tell what race you're running for, what seat you're trying to win, and then we'll start with questions. If everybody can take their seat and be quiet so we can get started. Mr. Draper?
My name is Jack Draper, and I am proud to be running for mayor of Anniston. I am prepared to continue to lead this city forward.
Hey, excuse me, if you're going to talk in the back, please go out into the hallway, because we need to go ahead and start the program and have some quiet for the candidates, please, so they can be heard. So if you can, need to socialize, please go out in the hallway. Mr. Draper?
My name again is Jack Draper. I am very proud to be running for mayor of the city of Anniston, and I am prepared right now to continue to move Anniston forward.
Good evening. My name is Ernest Fletcher, but you can call me Fletch, and I'm running for the mayor of Anniston as well.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Bradford, running for mayor of the city of Anniston, longtime citizen, looking forward to serving you all.
Good evening. My name is Bob Folsom. I'm running for councilman at large, also known as mayor. Thank you for your support. Good evening. My name is Bob Folsom.
Hello, those that don't know me, I'm Gene Robinson. Was mayor from 08 to 12, and I'm happy to serve you, and please give me a vote.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, we'll start the questions with you since you have the microphone. One of our audience members wants to know how, if you're elected, how could you strengthen the communication between City Hall and the Anniston Board of Education?
Well, strengthening the Board of Education is a very common thing. The council will have, will wine them and dine them, or really dine them, and we will have questions and pertain to that. They're good people, and we'll work together.
Thank you. Mr. Folsom, same question.
I think the best way to work together is to meet and talk and meet frequently. That doesn't mean that you have to meet every day, but meet certainly quarterly. I know that it's anticipated we will have a new City Board of Education, and I hope that there will be at least some new people on the council, the mayor's office especially. But I think the key is to sit down and meet and discuss the problems and attempt to come to a consensus on what the answers to the problems are.
Thank you. Mr. Bradford?
Same question.
Yes, sir.
Well, as an individual who has 40 years of experience in working with Anniston children, Alabama children, 6 weeks to 6 years for 40 years, education is very important to me. I support a good public school. But as mayor, I'm open to alternatives to public education. I would take advantage of the new system, charter school, and others. I would definitely look at other alternatives to help the children of this city.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, same question.
Well, it takes more than just the council, the mayor, and the Board of Education. It involves all of us. All of the people, all of the stakeholders in the city of Anniston. We all have a stake in our children's education, and we need to meet, as Mr. Folsom said, often. I have experience bringing diverse groups of people together. I was in Afghanistan as a advisor to Afghan forces, and had the opportunity to bring different groups, tribes that have not gotten together well for thousands of years. And for at least the 6 months that I was there for particular tours, they helped provide security. So I have the experience of bringing people together and team building, and to me, that's what will make our whole education system better in Anniston.
Thank you. Mr. Draper?
Well, education is obviously key, not only to our children, but the quality educational system here impacts all of us. It helps with reduce the crime rate. It helps with job creation. And I agree that communication is important, and I have already begun that. During the course of this campaign, I have already met with Dr. Dowd. I have begun that. But one thing I think that the council can do in particular is to help the Board of Education identify non-traditional sources of revenue. The council can make available to the Board of Education grant writers, which the city compensates on a percentage basis, to find new and innovative ways to fund education.
Since you still got the mic,
Sure.
This question came from the audience. What are your plans for continuing the progress the current council has made?
Well, I think the council has done a good job. And quite frankly, we are moving the city forward right now. Keep in mind that with respect to economic development, the council has already brought into Anniston dirt cheap on South Quintard and Harbor Freight on McClellan. Both of those account for almost $20,000 a month in sales tax revenue. The council has done a good job in helping expand business. IAC has expanded by 350 jobs. NABI we kept NABI here. This council kept NABI here, which kept 800 jobs here. We've got to continue to move the city forward.
Mr. Fletcher, same question.
Can you ask the question again, please? Because I actually couldn't hear you the first time.
What are your plans for continuing the progress of the current council?
What progress exactly? No, I mean, honestly, which?
In general.
In general? Well, if you're referring to the one city, one vision, it's called a strategic plan, but I've read it 100 times and it's neither strategic nor is it a plan. It has no measurable objectives, it has no metrics. So although it is, I think it's a good starting point. I think they brought up some good things, but also nothing's a priority, it's not prioritized. So I would definitely prioritize it. Crime and public safety is number 7. I don't necessarily know that that's what they meant by that, but to me it should have been number 1, whether it was actually prioritized or not. Until we fix crime and public safety and we fix the educational systems, nothing else will come here. And I think once we do that, it will come here. Once it's safe here, once our education system is sound and solid, then businesses will come here and our city will grow.
Mr. Bradford, same question.
I'm a guy that believes that in order to get companies to come to our city, every politician that runs for office tell you, I'm going to bring jobs in here, I'm going to have no crime and all of that. Bottom line to me is, in order to get a job or company interested in coming into your city, you must have a skilled, trained labor force. Technically, mechanically, and all other types of skills. So to me, in order to get companies to come here, first we must offer a skilled labor force for companies that's interested in coming here.
Mr. Folsom, same question.
I remember, as I'm sure most of you do, 4 years ago, we had a dysfunctional city government and a new council came in, and the council adopted this one city, one vision after a lot of input from the community. And it may not be working exactly right, but I'm sure there's some good points to it, and maybe it needs to be revisited and some changes made to it. But I think for the most part, we're headed on the right track. And I would, my plan would be to review that and take the good points of it and move ahead with that.
Mr. Roberts.
Well, I'm not so sure that we can bring business to town. We've been trying and trying and trying. We're losing another one on Noble Street. We have got to do something innovative and creative to bring business to town. Because otherwise we're not going to have business. We're rock bottom in the county as far as business goes.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, we'll start with you. We've heard tonight a lot about our schools, what needs to be done, what we should do. In a lot of people's minds, education, public education is the #1 priority for the city. We have someone here in our audience tonight who wants to know, what schools have you visited in the last 4 years, and what can you do if you're elected to help with Anniston Public Schools?
Well, I visited all the schools in town. I felt like as mayor, we should visit our school systems. And I did. But we've got a long way to go. We can do it. We can turn it around. We can.
Thank you. Mr. Folsom, same question.
Well, I have not visited the schools. I have a child who's been out of school for a number of years. But I'll go back to the other question. I think the city council and the Board of Education should get together frequently. I think the city's innovation fund is a good start. It may not be the only answer, but I do think that the city should provide as much as it can in conjunction with discussing that with the City Board of Education and with the superintendent. I think if we do that, we can make some progress.
Mr. Bradford?
Schools. Schools are the most important institution that we have in any city. Unfortunately, across America, public schools are failing America. That's why I said I would go back, willing to work with a public school that is willing to make a change. We have to be able to prepare children for tomorrow's world. I've done that for the last 40 years. We take children the ages of 6 weeks and 6 years. We've been teaching them the early education skills of reading, writing, and mathematics before first grade. We did pre-K for 40 years before public school even thought about pre-K. So I would definitely be open to other alternatives. If public school can't deliver, then no way would I hold these children back and keep them in a square box where they cannot get out of. We have too many kids coming out of school now, can't read, can't write, can't mathematics. In fact, a lot of kids have problem holding a pencil right. And we have a society that says, well, we don't have to have papers in school anymore. Everything's gonna be computerized. I think that's the worst mistake anybody can make. But we as citizens sit idly by and let them use a system that does not teach our children properly.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, same question.
It's an excellent question. I've had a pretty unique experience in this city being able to go into every single school, including the private schools and public schools. I worked for a local ambulance company for 2 years. After I retired from the military, I went to school to be a paramedic. And so I actually got to go in a different way, but I got to see things on an actual, this is what's happening today, and was able to see the classrooms, what was there, the books they were using, the different types of, or the lack of state-of-the-art technology. And those are the types of things that I would like to integrate into our school systems if elected mayor, or at least move our council and the school board and the stakeholders, all the citizens of Anniston. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Draper?
Well, as I mentioned, I just visited Anniston Middle School and met with Dr. Dowden just last month. And I did that because it is important for the mayor to go out and meet with educational stakeholders and all stakeholders, for that matter. Part of being mayor is about bringing people to the table. It's about valuing people and their opinions. We have to work together to solve all of our problems here in Anniston. For far too long, we've sat up here and thrown stones at each other. We expend so much energy fighting with each other that there's nothing left whatsoever to solve our problems. And so that's why I have met with Dr. Dowden, and I will continue to meet with educational stakeholders.
With another question that's submitted by the audience, what is your position on permitting bingo operations in the city or in the police jurisdiction? And if you're in favor of it, how would you tax the operation and how would you use the revenue?
Well, quite frankly, I think that this council did a good job in crafting its bingo ordinance. And it was in accordance with legislative law. Our legislature, it is important for the council to work with our legislature. We don't have home rule here in Alabama, so the council has to work with the legislature. But the city council passed an ordinance whereby if a nonprofit lawfully operates bingo, and it's got to be done in accordance with the law, then that nonprofit, any nonprofit in Anniston, can pay out to a limit of $1 million a week. The city council passed an ordinance whereby the nonprofit obviously gets revenue from that, but the city gets 10% of that. So if a nonprofit, if a collection of nonprofits met that payout limit, the city's looking at $100,000 additional revenue per week. That's real money, folks.
Mr. Fletcher?
Unfortunately, I don't have the experience in the bingo and gaming arena. So all I know is that I'm absolutely for it. I think it's a great revenue stream. I do I do, however, I would be totally against any city employees or city personnel that had anything to do with any of these nonprofit organizations having anything to do with bingo that's operated within the city, because I think that would be a conflict of interest. But I think it's a good deal. I'm not sure, I didn't know it was 10%, I thought it was 5%, but I think 10% would be the appropriate tax that would be laid upon the bingo halls. I also would not at all allow smoking in them. I would not take unless they completely repeal the smoking ordinance for all bars, I would not allow it in the bingo parlors.
Mr. Bradford, same question.
I have a talk show, and I have a lot of people calling in concerned about bingo. Personally, I think bingo, $1 million is hardly anything anymore. If you're not dealing with the super $400,000, $500,000, $1 million, you're out of the game. Now we look at Georgia. Georgia had bingo for schools. Did it really do Georgia schools any good? I'm not against gambling, but you have to look at the reality of it. Is bingo in all the funding that we need? We're talking about gambling. I'm not against gambling. I don't gamble because I keep my money in my pocket. I'm just one of those guys that does not gamble. But if the people want bingo, they can have bingo, for as I'm concerned, for those who wants to play bingo. But I don't think bingo is the answer to all of the needs that a city needs. We have to have other revenues coming from other needs.
Mr. Folsom, same question.
Yeah, I'm not a bingo player myself, but if it's legal, I think that's fine. If we'll produce some funds for the city, I think that's fine. I think the numbers that are thrown out saying that's real money, I think it's probably more like pie in the sky. What I'd like to know is what's the least amount the city might realize from that. And if it'll help out the city tax-wise, then that's it. Put it in the coffers and we can help out the city's needs, such as education and public safety and economic development.
Mr. Robinson.
Well, it's past time to have bingo, to have a little bit of gambling. That's modern times. And the people that don't want to do it, won't do it. But it's past time that we go ahead and authorize bingo with the idea that the nonprofits are the right people run it. That's the main thing, is the right people run it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Robinson, we'll go ahead and start with you with the next question. It involves McClellan. What is your opinion about the progress of redevelopment at Anniston's former Army post? Are there areas that the City Hall can be of assistance in terms of McClellan, that aren't being addressed today?
It's an average of 5 to 6 years from the start of a base closure that it should be done. It should have been done years ago. We're paying the general $100,000 a year. It's wrong. It's just damn wrong. Yeah, it is. We should do away with it and start all over.
Mr. Folsom.
I think if we did away with it and started all over, it'd take even longer to get things done. I think we ought to keep progressing like we are. I think we're making progress, and that sort of thing takes time, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. So I think we should keep moving on in the direction we've been moving.
McClellan has a great opportunity. In fact, it'll bring Anniston has to be, once developed, 17,000 acres. That's one heck of a size of a city. So Anniston has a great future ahead of itself. That's why I feel that in order to make sure that Anniston's future is guaranteed to be taken care of, we have to invest more into the next generations of Annistonians, which is our children. But unfortunately, in Anniston, where 52+% of the population are African American, one word that is always missing: poverty. Poverty. And so, in order for our school to move, for our city to move in the future, we must reach down to the next generation to prepare them to take over McClellan. One concern I do have about McClellan, and that is, I got a feeling once they complete it, they will secede from Anniston, leave McClellan on its own, and we'll still have what they call inner city Anniston.
Mr. Fletcher?
Well, I have a pretty unique look on this. In 1999 of September, I handed the keys over to a 9-building complex while I was on active duty here at Fort McClellan. And there's probably 40 buildings that are here that are being utilized on McClellan. And fortunately, 9 of those 9 that I handed over are being utilized. But there are about 150 that are not utilized and are rotting, and it absolutely disgusts me as a veteran and as a person that was at McClellan. I do not think that the JPA or the MDA has done what they should do. We can't dissolve the MDA because it exists as a mechanism to receive federal money, but I would move the portion of the development arm and the selling of property. I would bid out a contract so that local real estate companies could manage that property and sell it and not just keep it. I've always called McClellan for the people that work there, a self-looking ice cream cone, and I just don't think it's appropriate.
Let me ask you one thing, Mr. Fletcher, follow up
Yes.
on something that you said in
Yes.
terms of moving the responsibility of selling the property. How would you take that away from the MDA?
Well, it would obviously have to be all of the stakeholders would have to agree to it. But at the current process, I have personally called to try to obtain or purchase property, and was met by a very unfriendly conversation by the staff and the director of the MDA. So, in my opinion, there is no actual effort to develop and or sell property out there. Whereas if a real estate company was involved and their motivation is fund-based, of course, they would be a little more motivated to sell property.
Thank you. Mr. Draper?
Well, I think it's important to understand the process. The McClellan Development Authority was in fact created by a state statute back in 2009. It is comprised of 5 members appointed by the council, 5 members appointed by the county commission, 1 member appointed by the governor. Their job is to administer the site, to develop it, and to clean it up. And so it is important to understand the process. I don't know that a private company could in any way undertake cleanup of McClellan, or could in any way assume the liability that would be involved in their developing McClellan. Can I respond to that?
I never said that I wanted them to develop it. What MDA does, and like I said, they're a mechanism for receiving federal money so that every single acre of land, acre by acre, is cleaned of ordinance and is ready to be sold. And currently there's approximately 3,000 acres of land and property that is available for sale and is not being sold. And there are many business owners and real estate developers that I'm sure would be very interested in purchasing that land. And that land could be transferred to a real estate company because it's already been cleared.
We'll start with Mr. Draper. This is a question that was submitted over the internet. What is your position on the continuing development of Coldwater Mountain Bike Trails and the Gonzaga Trail extension? And if you're not in favor of those, what is your plan to replace their economic impact?
I think that those are absolute gems for Anniston. I mean, Anniston can be a hub for ecotourism. You know, listen, we talk about all the problems we have. Think about all the good things that we have. And those bike trails are one of them. We've got world-class museums and bike trails. We've got great people. We've got natural beauty. We have so much to offer, but we've got to work together to promote it. And I would do everything within the council's power, if elected mayor, to reach out to nonprofit groups, to reach out to bike associations, to reach out to environmental associations, invite them to Anniston, show them what their best practices, show us what their best practices would be in developing those trails for Anniston's full benefit.
Mr. Fletcher.
I think that the bike trails and the concept of biking is one of the best things that has happened to Anniston. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, which if anybody's ever watched Portlandia, it is the bike city USA, so I would not mind Anniston, my second home, to be the second bike city USA. Also, there's a lot of undeveloped, and if we could, I mean, when I was here, stationed here in the 90s, all around the inner part of McClellan, the range area, if that's ever cleared, the most unbelievable mountain biking. I'm sure that people do it illegally now, but it's amazing, and it's just incredible, the scenery, the wildlife, and all of that. And I'm all for bicycles.
Mr. Bradford.
The bike trail, pretty expensive. But here's the problem. Whenever we have the bike trail, the bikers, whenever we have the runners, guess where they go and eat? Guess where they go to sleep? Should I tell you? Oxford. Oxford. Money Anniston is missing out on. So we have to come up with some kind of plan to talk, as your mayor, I would convince some kind of hotel or someone to set up in Anniston, because right now we have these events, but Oxford gets the money. So until we can do something better than that, what the use?
Mr. Folsom.
I'm certainly all for the bike trails and the Ladaga trail. I think that brings people into the town. They do spend money. They may not spend it all in Anniston, but they certainly spend some of it in Anniston. And I think what the city council should do should be to encourage that, have some kind of a marketing plan to entice people to use those facilities for them.
Mr. Robinson.
I started phase 1 of the mountain bike trail. You probably don't know it, but I did. Along with the council, we started phase 1 of the mountain bike trail. So I'm all for it. Talladega Trail meets in Georgia and comes here. We need to expand the bikes as we are.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, we'll start with you. We've talked in all of our previous portions tonight about the form of government that Anniston has, the weak form of government. This is a different version of the question that we've asked already tonight. As you know, the form we have, the city manager has a very important role in running the day-to-day operations of the city. If you're elected mayor, how important is a relationship that you have with the city manager in terms of the operations of the city and the review of his job performance, anything like that? How would you deal with the city manager?
Don Hoyt was the city manager when I was there. And Don Hoyt is a good human being. He did right. And everything he did, he tried to do the best he could. I'm for a strong mayorship as well as a strong leadership from the city manager goes. I'd say it takes both people to form the city government.
Thank you. Mr. Folsom?
I would view the form of government that we have akin to a company, with the city council being akin to the board of directors, and the chairman being akin to the mayor, and the board hiring the city manager or the CEO to, as has been stated here early tonight, run the day-to-day operations. And the council would have the authority to hire the city manager, to fire him. Of course, if he's under contract, you have to abide by the terms of the contract. I think that is a good system. The mayor will be an important part of that. And as far as the public is concerned, I think the mayor should act as kind of a bully pulpit to encourage the things that the city ought to be doing.
Mr. Bradford?
The form of government that we have now, it doesn't matter what form of government you have, in a sense. A strong city manager, a strong mayor, depends upon the individual. The form of government that we are under now, other than the city manager position, is a position at large voting. I challenge that in federal court. Anniston does not have that system anymore. So the system in which people are elected under now is a system that I helped and took Anniston, the city, to federal court to change the form of government that was diluting the black votes, which made it weaker. Now we have a system that allows minorities to have a voice in its government. And that's due to the work of Ralph Bradford. Same thing with the county commissioners. We have more blacks there because of the work of Ralph Bradford. We have Barbara Boyd's position as state representative. That's because of the work of Ralph Bradford. I ask those of you all that I gave my sheets to, please read the history of Ralph Bradford, and then you'll know why I'm up here. These other guys, I can't answer for.
Mr. Fletcher, your turn.
Well, clearly it's very important, regardless of what, if we have a strong mayor, then we would have to go through the legislature and we would no longer have a city manager. We currently do have a city manager form of government, so we have a weak mayor form, and as the mayor, we would have, with the current city manager, be kind of an interesting experience because I was a first sergeant, he was a captain, so that would be an interesting, we could have a kind of a leadership team again. However, the day-to-day activities, I'm not sure how much time and effort the mayors of past have put in, but I'm retired military, and I'm going to work full-time on half of a part-time salary, and I'm going to give the other half of my salary back to the city fund so that we can fund for another police officer. So I'll be there every day, but at half the part-time salary.
Thank you. Mr. Draper?
Well, under our form of government, the mayor and city manager obviously need to have a good relationship. The mayor is essentially the chairman of the board, and the city manager is the CEO. And so the mayor of Anniston needs to possess a certain skill set and traits. The mayor needs to be able to work well with others. The mayor has to have a good and calm demeanor. And the mayor has to be positive. We've got to be positive in promoting Anniston the best that we can. I believe that I possess that skill set and traits, and I can work well with the city manager.
Earlier this year, the City Council approved offering grant money and infrastructure improvements for planned public housing developments in the city's western neighborhoods. It's part of the city's overall West Anniston Master Plan, which is aimed at improving education and residential and quality of life opportunities. In your opinion, how is Anniston doing in its efforts to assist the West Side?
Well, Anniston needs to do better. We need to continue to do a better job of promoting all parts of our city. And part of the mantle of mayoral leadership is working with other governments. And we're talking about the Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's a federal agency. We're talking about dealing with state agencies. Anniston needs to do a good job of continuing to work with other governments. Another thing I would do is the large cities in Anniston, and this is not a League of Municipalities initiative, get together, like Montgomery, Mobile, Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, they get together and discuss best practices and brainstorm. I, as mayor of Anniston, would invite the mayor of Troy, the mayor of Enterprise, the mayor of Alabama, and see how they do things. I would invite them here to Anniston. We have to look outside the box and continue to think of innovative ways to improve Anniston.
Mr. Fletcher.
Well, while working on an ambulance for 2 years, I had the pleasure of meeting thousands of our residents and being in hundreds of homes. And over the last month since I've been campaigning as mayor, I've again been able to meet with and visit people in their homes, probably 150, 200 families. And I have to say that 99.9% of them they feel in West Anniston that the current and past city government has not done anything for them. And I think that perception is reality. A lot of people have said that lately in our city government, and I'd like to do something about that. I'd like to actually make it a reality and actually help all of Anniston, not just one particular portion of Anniston.
Mr. Murray.
You're talking about projects, right? I hate them. Too many of our young people lives in poverty here. Too many of our young people has to live in projects in order to have a place to live. So, in other words, we have a lot of homeless people in our community. If it was not for the federal projects, people would not have any place to live. I'm mayor, what I believe in, and I ask people, the flyers that I pass out to you all tonight, please read it. You read the whole thing. It tells you what I would do to get people out of public housing. I worked with children for a lot of years around here. I believe that every child deserves to have their own yard to play in, not projects. I don't care how fancy you build them, they still projects. They're still projects. We need people who are able to earn a living enough to purchase homes around here. We have too many vacant lots and not enough young people making money to buy homes around here. And so I believe, forget about the projects. We need to work to get these young folks on their feet enough to be able to purchase a home for themselves. By purchasing a home, they will be able to pay our ad-valorem tax, and ad-valorem tax pays for school.
Mr. Folsom.
Thank you.
I would agree. I think that we could do a whole lot more, and I think we should address problems not just in some parts of Anniston, but all parts. And I would like to take that West Anniston plan and see what we can do to help out that area.
Mr. Robinson.
Like the old council, I went through the planning stage, but what I would have done different is I would give the houses to people. Give them to the people. It's no sense in holding on to decrepit, dilapidated houses. Give them to the people to develop, and like Birmingham does. That's an innovative way of getting rid of the houses.
Mr. Robinson, we'll start with you. This question is about our schools again. We can all agree that's incredibly important for Anniston's future. At our forum last night with the school board, one of the big topics was funding, the amount of money that the city allocates for public schools. Some people thought that the city does it well, that they give the right amount of money, or all that they can, and others felt that the city should somehow or another, despite its financial situation, give more to the schools. Talk about school funding. Is Anniston doing all it can financially for its schools? And what other programs would you cut within the city if you wanted to give more money to the schools?
Well, I passed a 10% sales tax to give this money to schools, also for economic development. That's the key thing, economic development and funds for the schools. I don't think this council has given them much of anything compared to what I was going to do. and what the council was gonna do. It's sad.
Mr. Folsom?
I certainly think that education is one of the key areas that we should address and be addressing on a continuing regular basis. And I understand that the city has established this innovation fund. There may be other ways to do it. I do think that the council should, as I've said before, meet with the school board, find out what their needs are, and then see what the city can afford to do. Of course, it is a matter of priorities, and you have to sit down there and pick and choose. And I think education should be up there at the top of the list.
Thank you. Mr. Bradford?
That 1 cent sales tax, I think, that Mr. Robinson was talking about, part of that money is supposed to have gone to the city school system, right? And as far as I know, where you at, huh? But as far as I know of, the city school system still hadn't got the money. And so money is not the problem in a sense. There was a 1 cent sales tax passed for retirement of the police and the fire department, and part of that money that goes for the schools, right? As of today, that as far as I know of, the school system still have not received that money.
Fletcher?
We must have got our information from the same place, because that's exactly what I've heard. That 1% sales tax increase, a quarter of that 1% was to go to the city schools. And I have been told by a source within the city government that it is not, and that it does need to go. Absolutely, that's where it should. If that's where it was meant to go, if that's where we promised people would go, then that's where it needs to go. Last night at the Board of Education forum, some of the people that are running for Board of Education brought up some very, very interesting ideas. And I think that with a new Board of Education and some new blood in the council and mayor area, I think that we can really come to some positive solutions for our children's educational opportunities.
Mr. Draper?
Well, I think the city's got to continue to do everything that it can do to identify additional sources of revenue, whether that be from the recruitment of new business or the expansion of existing business. 80% of new jobs are created by existing businesses. But it's all about increasing the size of the pie. And then where that money goes obviously comes once we increase the size of that pie. But we've got to look, again, at non-traditional sources of revenue. And I would work with education in identifying those non-traditional sources of revenue, whether through grants from foundations or other public entities. But to go back to this, keep in mind that we do have a bingo ordinance in Anniston. And I think that I would be in favor of earmarking some of those funds for education or wherever else we thought that money ought to go.
This next question has to do with downtown. Since the early 70s, Noble Street has seemingly been in some sort of revitalization project every year. Opinions still vary about what path the city should take with redevelopment. How concerned are you about Noble Street's future, and what should be done?
Well, I'm very passionate about Noble Street. I've had the pleasure of serving as the chairman of the Downtown Development Authority for the past 18 months or so. And through an incentive grant program, we leveraged $250,000 from non-restricted funds, or from restricted funds, I'm sorry, into $1 million worth of potential improvements. All you gotta do is walk down Noble Street and see that change is happening. Weichel Drugs, Sterling Jewelers. A walkable downtown is an absolute treasure for Anniston, and continuing to foster Noble Street and all of downtown is important for us. It really is. I mean, downtown is absolutely essential for Anniston, and I am committed to do whatever we need to do to continue the improvement on Noble Street and downtown.
Mr. Fletcher?
These questions don't give us much wiggle room. So I mean, absolutely, Noble Street is pretty much the center stage for Anniston, and without a viable, active Noble Street, then the rest of Anniston just becomes any other town. And I've been here over 20 years, and I love Noble Street. I love what it has become. I think it can be much better. I would like to see, and the city council is talking about making a downtown entertainment district, and I would love to see that move forward. We'll have to increase our police presence so that people know that they can't act up, and then slowly we can make the parklets like they want to do. And then we can actually, with business owner and building owner buy-in, maybe block off certain streets, certain nights of the week, so that we can just walk around and have kind of a safer, fun New Orleans type atmosphere.
Mr. Bradford.
Noble Street. I'm glad to see they finally resurfaced it. You know, it is the heart of downtown. I was on the Anniston Public Building Board before they kicked me off. There was three sides to Anniston in the plan in my brain. Development of the west end of Anniston, where the new Department of Human Resources is. Down in that area, then you're gonna have your court system. The federal court's gonna move down there. Then you already have the courthouse down there. Then you come to Noble, over to Wilmer, sort of like middle of downtown, right? Business section right there. Then when you get to the east side of Quintard, your medical center. So you got your west side downtown where the court system is. You got the middle downtown where all the business section is. And then to the east side of Quintard, you have your medical center. That is the future plan, look at it, of the city of Anniston.
Mr. Folsom.
I think a vibrant downtown is very important. I would like to point out that the current city council, when it came into office, adopted this one city, one vision plan. And several of the items in that plan involve the downtown area. And one of those items is the development of a strategic plan. And I think that should be done before we do other things downtown. Develop a strategic plan and then see what elements of that we can implement as we go along.
Mr. Robbins.
Came to town in 1954 with my dad, and Noble Street was so busy on Saturdays, people were just, it was unreal. Unreal. Just a handful of businesses downtown. Just a handful. I don't know how we're going to bring it back. I really don't. But I'm like Bob Folsom, I think a plan is necessary, and a viable plan, and a quick plan. We need help in downtown Anniston. Every business I know of, and I know them all, is slow. They're slow. And we need help. We need help, a lot of help.
Thank you. Well, it's now 7:30 or a few minutes past that. We've gone a little over what our schedule was tonight. So let's move on to our final statements. Each candidate will get 1 minute for that statement. So, Mr. Robinson, you have the mic. Let's get started with you.
$15 million Justice Center, Coldwater Mountain Bike Park Phase 1, State DHR Building, Aquatic Center, Norwood Park Restoration, Zen Park Equipment, Special Needs, ABC Store, basketball courts at Carver and South Holland Community Centers. We combine the senior citizens at McClellan, Piggly Wiggly. Now, I trained at the Security Hazardous Assessment Response Management for Seaburn instance. Command Planning and Response Action for All Hazards. Hands-on training for Seaburn incidents. Advanced regional response training. One day, we're going to have a Seaburn incident, and it ain't long. is not long, and I'm the only mayor at that time that trained for this. Vote for me, please vote.
Thank you. Mr. Folsom, 1 minute.
Well, I want to tell you that I've enjoyed being up here today. I had something all written out to discuss the things that we've talked about here tonight, and I'm sure you don't want to hear it again, so I'm just going to throw it away. Enough of that. And I would just like to say that I would enjoy being a mayor, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bradford, 1 minute.
We have one man, one vision, one city, one vision. Now, I ask you to read Bradford vision. Bradford vision simply means education. Education experience, i.e. GED, high school diploma or degree. Increased training which leads to a higher success rate in employment. Recruitment of new companies into the area due to having a skilled labor pool. Higher wages due to being skilled. Home ownership due to higher wages. More people working due to companies' recruitment resulting from skilled labor. Increased spending in Anniston and the surrounding cities. Taxes, which increase taxes to help pay for education. More people working equal lower poverty rate, eliminates the need for public housing and public service. All steps leads to a better life for Annistonians, both young and seniors alike. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Now I want to add this, something that Mr. Sarum said. The city, you the taxpayers, we were sued by the city council for an industrial tax. Councilor Little and I was plaintiff to defend against that industrial tax that Mr. They voted for. So I just wanted you all to know that you all was sued by this city council for an industrial tax.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, 1 minute.
All right, well, first of all, I want to say good luck to all the candidates for both the council and the mayor. It'll be a pleasure if I'm elected to work with any of you. I'm honored to be here this evening, and I thank you for considering me to be the next mayor of Anniston. Our city is at a critical mass. I want to be the mayor because more than 22,000 citizens are depending on the next mayor to have the leadership, planning, financial, and emergency management experience requisite for the position. I am the only candidate with any of this experience. I'm the only candidate who will truly do anything about reducing crime, increasing public safety, bringing all the stakeholders of Anniston to come to a positive solution for our children's education needs, and the only candidate who has the ability, experience, fortitude, and to unite our community. I'm available. I will always be available. I will be completely accessible and accountable, as will all of our city council members and city employees. I am not the status quo. I am not a member of the establishment elite. I am not looking west, nor am I looking east. I am looking forward. I am you, I am Anniston, and I would like to have your vote on August 23rd.
Thank you very much. Mr. Draper, 1 minute.
I have worked to make Anniston better for years. I've served on the Industrial Development Board. I'm an alumnus of Leadership Calhoun County. I've even advised the city and nonprofits on legal issues. I currently serve as chairman of the Downtown Development Authority, but I want to do more, and that's why I'm running for mayor. I love Anniston. I was born in Anniston. My mother was a charter member of COOL, the Committee on Unified Leadership. We have got to take the mantle of that past to continue to move Anniston forward. I am the candidate to move Anniston forward right here, right now. I humbly ask for your support and vote.
Thank you very much. That concludes our forum tonight. I want to thank all of our candidates for council and mayor tonight. And I'd like to remind everybody that there is a forum in Jacksonville. No, it's not, excuse me. The next forum will be Monday in Hobson City at 5:30 at New Haven Baptist Church. Thank you very much and have a good night.